You talk about more than ever, we need more HBCUs.
Correct.
Tell us why, because that's one of those aspects, education, that where the rubber meets the road for the mayor and the city council, working with the school board, because you're dealing with kindergartners, you're dealing with high schoolers,
Correct.
you're dealing with the universities that are located in your municipalities. Talk to us about this need for HBCUs, why they're important, and what do you think Donald Trump's executive order on Monday eliminating diversity, inclusion, equity, and inclusion efforts and programs at the federal level across the country, how that may impact what you're doing with your HBCUs and schools in your city.
Well, look, historically, black colleges and universities are as relevant today as they were in 1867.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not gonna say, I dare say more. I don't mean that. They were extremely important in 1867. But I believe what's happened at the university and college level in the last 10 years is why it's extremely important today. We are talking about a significant amount of black boys and girls becoming teenagers and then young adults who would be first generation college university students. And but for the HBCU experience, which is a holistic experience well beyond the academia part of just being educated, we need places where these young black men, these young black women feel safe, are nurtured, enriched, invested in the whole person, character building, leadership, fun. Of course, they're going to get the academic and
Hmm.
academia part of this, but the setting and the place matters. And as I understand it from my own experience, that is the reason I can say I'm the mayor today. HBCUs are a safe place. They are a needed place. You can literally be gainfully educated as well as become a full round person of knowing yourself and going from a boy to a man, from a girl to a grown woman, and
Hmm.
understanding the plight of African Americans and black people, and then going home and making things better, or going out into wherever in the world and making your mark and impact on life because of your HBCU experience.
How do But how does that translate on a day in and day out basis when you're looking at the challenges of education funding and the lack of funding and support for HBCUs? And I would even say everyone focuses on the federal level, but really that challenge is most profound at the state level. Does Alabama support HBCUs in the state?
Well, let's just say Alabama State and Alabama A&M, which are two HBCU state public universities, do not receive the same academic financial formula that the Alabamas and the Auburns of the world do. That's a fact, and they should. Period. For research dollars purposes and for everything else, for buildings and operations, etc., they should. Period. For professors and tenure, they should, but they don't. That's one. And as an HBCU graduate, I don't care if it's $1 or $18.67 or $18.81 or $100. It doesn't matter the price. If you are a graduate of any HBCU, you should be giving monthly or yearly to your HBCU,
Yeah.
because when that president and or those board of trustees can go to corporate America, private sector, donors, etc.,
First
they
question
should
I get
be they
asked.
should be able to say, hey, we have a minimum of 50%.
Yep.
But if they're able to say we got a minimum of 90% investment from our graduates, they know that the graduates, the generation that is no longer there, are literally passing their dollars, giving their dollars, investing their dollars in the next generation in their private sector. Dear corporate America, dear donors, we need you to be a part of this experience for the next generation.
Mayor, I cannot emphasize enough how important what you just said is. It has been one of the most profoundly disappointing aspects of my engagement with HBCUs, not just here in my own state, which was a specific battle that I had to deal with, to be quite honest, with some Black legislators, believe it or not, who were graduates of HBCUs. But because what was being proposed came from a Republican, they automatically rejected it. And what I was telling them was, dude, I have no interest otherwise than my care and concern for the education of Black boys and Black girls becoming
Right.
Black men and Black women. I went to Johns Hopkins, so I
Right.
didn't go to an HBCU, but the fact that I'm fighting more for your school than you are should tell you something.
Right.
And they never, it was always a struggle, and I never understood that. But one of the things, working with South Carolina State, working with HBCUs in North Carolina, in Tennessee, in other areas of the South, some certainly in the Midwest and the North, where there may be fewer but still no less important, it was always stunning to me the lack of support from their own alum. They
You
just
got to have it.
graduated and moved on. I'm like, how the hell do you do that? How do you, I mean, the importance of HBCUs in this country. You know that if the majority institutions had their way, they snuff them out. They don't want to fund them. I mean, I can
There,
tell you the battle we had when we put infrastructure dollars in and rebuilt the campuses of Coppin and Morgan State University. And then I proposed that we now allocate millions of dollars to research and development and funding professorial chairs. The pushback was stunning. You would have thought that I was asking them to take every dollar they could that I could from mainstream institutions. So what is it?
I think the institutions have to do a better job of making sure the undergraduate experience is holistic, and that same customer service piece I spoke to at the grocery store or as mayor is applied for your freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. I also think that you have to cultivate the whole notion of what's called pre-alumni prior to them ever walking across the stage, so they know the first time they're asked to give shouldn't be the day they
When they
graduate.
graduate. It's true. Fair
That's
point.
relationship. That's relationship and cultivation. The point is, I don't want to point fingers at anybody. I believe everybody can do a better job. I believe governors and legislators can give more money to our state HBCUs. I believe for our UNCF schools that alumni and alumni can do more to support their institutions. I'm not saying break the bank. You just
Right.
need to, the institution just need to be able to show that this percentage of alumni give.
That's it.
It can be
That's it.
1 cent.
No,
Okay.
that's very true, and I think it's an important thing to emphasize for those who are alum of HBCUs to note that if you're not giving, no one's asking you to give $100,000 a year. If you took $100 check and wrote it once, that's giving once a year, and you add that up over the graduates of that institution. Just let's say the last 10 classes, that
Right.
would have a profound impact on their ability to go into the public sector and say to the because you know how white folks think about us. And let's just break this stuff down. The first question is, I mean, the bars that they don't ask white institutions, well, how many of your people give to your school?
Nope.
They don't ask that question.
Nope.
That's not a question that any donor, any corporate donor is going to ask them.
Right.
May ask about your research department. They may ask about your federal government contracts, et cetera, and stuff like that. They don't ask you, well, how many of your graduates are giving to you? That's the first question you get out of an HBCU. It's like, okay, so how many of y'all are giving to you? So that we can get into more fundamental discussions about how you as corporate America can partner with the future folks out there and be able to move the needle for these institutions.
Well, I'll tell you this. My daughter is 5 months. Her name is Love, Love. And the same week she was born, if not the next day, I started giving Spelman College $18.81 a month. Auto draft. I don't even think about it. Do you know I get a thank you email once a month from them? So the cultivation has to be there, not just from the institution. But when you have an institution like that, that takes giving seriously and engages those who give, it's just so much easier, man.